recording.
Okay. And my microphone is recording now. I cleared some space, so hopefully there's lots of room. We'll see.
Fantastic.
All right.
So your camera is not on, or at least I don't see you.
Do you want it?
It's totally up to you.
No, I mean, I'd rather not. I mean, if I will put it to the side and we'll just talk, and it's fine. So if it's
Totally
good
up
as
to
it
you.
is, we'll leave it. Yeah, let's just leave it. Life
Okay,
is hard
great.
enough, you know?
Yeah, right? So two things, a few things we need to do.
Oh my
as
God,
we
okay.
start.
It's the lecture already.
Oh my God, now what?
What have I done wrong now? Okay, just give it to me. I can take it.
Put it in the chat. Just put it in the chat.
Can I read
Okay.
it? It's easier. It's just easier.
Okay, we're supposed to check that all mics are recording. Check.
Okay. Yes.
We're going to do something for our editor, which is we're going to count 1, 2, 3, and then clap together.
Yep.
So that he can do some syncing.
Of
You ready
course.
to do that? Okay.
Yep.
On the count of 3, 1, 2,
2, 3. Oop, damn it.
Okay, so I wasn't clear. So 1, 2, 3.
Gotcha, okay.
1. Okay.
Yep.
1. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. 1, 2.
There we go. I think I got it.
1, 2.
I got it.
Okay.
I did. I
It
clapped.
sounds like
I
it sounds like
clapped.
I'm clapping, and then I hear you clapping. But
No, I mean, I'm clapping at the same time you're clapping.
Okay, fantastic. That's just the mic. delay
That's the
in
mic.
my
Why is it?
side.
It's not my fault always. Okay.
Why is it always?
Why is it always?
Yeah,
Why is everyone pointing their fingers at me?
I think those are the two most helpful conversational pieces. Is when you say, "Why is it always my fault?"
Totally.
Followed by, "Why are you shouting?" When they're not shouting.
Totally.
I think,
Yeah, I know, but that's another one too. No,
as you
let's
talk
stop.
over,
Right.
as you talk over them again.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
I love
Oh,
it.
you know what? Your excuses at this point, really? Why? Get over it. It happened. we all
You know,
did it.
I'm watching Grey's Anatomy, and so
Now?
which I've never. I know. Okay. I was doing other stuff before, and
I've never
I'm
seen
not
it,
now.
so you're good.
Oh, well,
Wasn't it all in a globe? Wasn't it all in a globe at the end? It's not over yet? I don't know.
oh God, it's so much a piece of its time that all
Yeah.
the characters. There's one episode where all the characters are saying, "Seriously,
They nailed it.
Seriously.
That's so of
Seriously.
that time. I know, right?
it's seriously."
Talk to the hand.
would you answer the phone? Seriously, you know, I'm breaking up with you. Seriously?
Seriously? Let's call this podcast Seriously. Seriously? Not a bad idea.
Seriously.
Seriously?
No.
It could have many ways. Question mark, period, exclamation point.
All purpose.
Oh, totally.
She's not speaking yet. She only knows one word. Is it? What is it? Unfortunately, it's seriously.
Seriously.
So,
Her baby, her first word was seriously. You know, and that makes sense. I can't blame her.
put on your jumper. Seriously?
Seriously.
honey, she's speaking.
Seriously? Did she say seriously, Dad, or seriously, Mom?
I'm sorry. I was binge watching Grey's Anatomy when she was a little kid, and that's just.
I was watching 30-something. I don't know what they were saying.
You know, the only part of
Never mind.
30-something that I remember is at one point Ken Olin had to go quiet his neighbors while he was wearing just jeans. That's the only part.
That one sticks out in your mind for some reason.
That's all I remember. I mean, I know.
I also never
I
saw
know-
that show.
Oh well.
I know, right?
Well, I'm telling you what you missed.
Thank you. You know what? This is true. For a long time, and I don't do it now because they don't publish this anymore, but Entertainment Weekly, I would get it every week. And I would say to people, I don't have to watch movies and shows because I read all about them. I know what's going on. That's all I need for most cases, right? Like, I got it. I'm in the zeitgeist. I get it. I know who Monique is. That's all I need to know.
I got it. Yeah, I'm doing the Cliff Notes for culture. You know,
right.
I just read.
There's so much. And I think like we need that more than ever now. Like I need a
I
huge,
know.
like there's not enough Cliff Notes for all the fucking culture there is right now. It's incredible. Every day, I'm like, not every day,
Yeah.
but like when I was working at my last job, which I hopefully will be at again, knock on wood, I have an interview today.
Oh, good.
Thank you. I was working with some young people. They're 23, 24, 25, 26. And it was like every day trying to learn some new thing from them of like, what's going on? Where is this happening? Shutter what now? Snap a who to what? I'm just like, I can't. What is nightcore is what? Slow down the music? Like, why would you do that? That's all you do? Oh, okay. There's a whole subculture. Wow. Okay.
You just described the grandpa factory.
I know,
and you're in the
right?
middle of it. Okay.
But like, you couldn't be more grandpa than you could be today. There's just so much to be grandpa about. Like, I was thinking about this morning as I was trying to set up this whole getup, right? I was trying to put Rode microphone on my computer, and I'm like, the way the computer's set up, it purposefully makes it hard for you to find any programs that you don't get directly from the store, right? So you have to know where to find it, and I can't find it. And there's a whole generation that would know how that workaround works, because they were raised in it, you know? And you and I, like technology, we could try to keep up, but it's like your brain has to work in a different way. And if you don't keep up with it, your brain, like, you just don't understand the connections people are making, and then they're like 10 steps ahead of you.
Yeah, and 50 is the new 90 in that case.
Oh my God, what? The calculation that's not how I was factoring it. 90? Wow.
Grandpa, can you hear me? Can you?
My friend, Jesus, my partner in Mexico, complicated.
Your partner in Mexico. You know, you don't get a partner per country. You know that, right?
You don't.
Okay, granted.
I mean, you know.
First of all, you're Canadian. I don't even want to ask what you've got hanging there. And now the United States.
I don't. Actually, Montreal. I went to Montreal for my honeymoon. Hi, husband.
Hello. Hi. Are you out there?
Yeah, probably. I mean, you know, much love. We went to Montreal, and I'm trying to think. I don't have anybody. That was the last time I was in Canada. I have no love, except my family, of course.
Is this why you had to leave? There was no love.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much love in Canada. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong, but not enough for everybody. And so I took the bullet, and I was like, I'm going to the States. I'm going to find love there. Ha ha. What did I know? Right.
when you say there's not enough love, do you know that you're the one that has to leave, or do people tell you?
Wait, what?
If there's not enough love, do you know that you're the one that has to leave, or do people
Yeah,
tell
you do. Is it Valentine's Day again? Ouch! Where's everybody going? Is everyone busy? I got it.
Those little boxes of candy hearts. You only got the box, just the box.
What? In middle school, I was like, yeah, you had to give them to everybody. Like, I got them then, sure. I like you. They cross out love and like put like. I mean, that's nice. I like you too.
Is Sharpie Ink edible?
This says David on it. Oh, whatever. I'll take it. I'll take it.
All right, whatever.
What are we going to talk about today? Do we do an intro for this, or is that we're going to have like an announcer introduce it?
Well, there's lots of ways we can do that.
Yeah.
It's usually better to have at least this is what I learned. The reason I started doing podcasting I wanted to do podcasts for the work I was doing because it was a way to get to know the neighborhood. So I would like to get to know people and then say, I'm doing this podcast, kind of interview.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'd be able to actually talk to them, ask them questions for an hour and a half. And so that meant I had to learn to do podcasts. So I did this online course with Seth Godin, who's kind of this marketing person, which was really helpful, and I learned a ton about how to do things. All that to say that it's sometimes better to have like a voice other than yours doing the announcing for the kind of the standard template announcement.
Right.
So yes, at some point that would be good.
I am a fairly talented voice actor. You know that's true. And so I can do any kind of voice we need to lead it in. We can talk about it later. Yeah.
Hold on. Hold on.
Yeah.
A talented voice actor. Give me something that I wouldn't expect from you.
Well, you left town before I really hit my stride.
So did you. A lot of us did, honey.
Hey. I'm still here, bitch. I'm still here. You went out into the world and had a real life and became a priest or whatever it is you are.
Hold up.
No.
Why the past? Why had a real life? Aren't I having a real life?
Of course you are. I'm not having
Oh,
one.
don't you patronize me. Of course you are.
You're a priest. Not everyone does that. You know. Are you a priest? Is that what the official title would be?
I am a priest. Yeah, I'm a Catholic priest.
Were you a priest? How long does it take to become a priest?
It depends on what group you're part of.
With the
group
Jesuits.
I'm part of, it takes longer. So
Yeah.
it takes, and not all of us become priests, some become brothers. It takes between 9 and 13 years of training.
Oop, you're breaking up a little bit. What was that?
Between 9 and 13 years of
Oh
training.
my God.
Yeah. It's kind of long, but it's not like just waiting around reading a book until you start.
Right,
and
I'm
stuff
sure.
going on.
You pick a number, like, oh my God, any day now.
Well, as a matter of fact, I had kind of forgotten until it was suddenly next year, and I was like, what?
Oh, wow.
Honestly, because it had
Yeah.
been so far in the future that I thought, all right.
Up until the point you become a priest, what are you?
You're broadly a seminarian. Or
A
someone training for the
seminarian?
priesthood. Yeah, a seminarian. I mean, technically I was a scholastic, which is even more
wow.
specific. Yeah.
Aren't all the Jesuits fairly scholastic, though?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, we do a lot of the kind of the thinking in the church. I mean, the church thinks, but a lot of the stuff we do is a lot of academics.
Right.
Yeah, often. Yeah. I don't personally, honestly. I look smarter than I am, but that's
Yeah,
always
I
been
know
kind of
that.
a problem.
Yeah.
Hey,
We may have to
I don't
explain
know.
that to the
I
people
don't
at
need,
home.
I don't need. I don't need. Just raise your hand when you already know what I'm saying, okay? And I can't see you, so go ahead.
Perfect. My hand is up almost all the time, but so just take that as a...
Up. Just assume it's up. I'll let you know when my hand comes down. Okay?
That's right. And then you can speak. So as a seminarian, well, so I just want to say, so you like went the AP Jesuit route. You were like, I'm taking the advanced, you are scholars, but I'm a scholastic seminarian, so bitches, step back. I mean it.
I mean it.
These are advanced study courses in thinking.
Well, and I went into the Jesuits not because, I mean, some people go into it because they want to study and teach like philosophy, or they want to be a theology, scholar or whatever. I went in because we do a lot of things, become a priest and do your day job, or, you integrate
Right.
them. So people join because they're in astronomy, or they are in the hard sciences, or they're doing something else. Well, I joined because I wanted to be a theater artist and and do that in the church. And they said, yeah, that sounds good, fine. And it's not quite that clear cut. I've been on a lot of other things other than the arts. But.
So because you were going into the theater, is that why you took the scholastic route, so you could sort of beef it up and like show people you weren't just taking the easy route?
No, but it's a good point.
Thank you.
It was more because I didn't want to be a parish priest, which is like just have a parish, not just, but have a parish,
Right.
and say mass and do the kind of in the trenches work. But I wanted to do the larger pieces of the church. So,
Do you?
and all that's not really actually happened over the 25 years. A whole bunch of other things have happened, as life will.
Right. Do you give sermons?
I do.
Yeah.
It's
How often?
totally the best part of my job. I love it so much.
Yeah.
And I'm so lucky to have been trained as a theater worker and a performer. It's just fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, the guys that I'm with who are from other disciplines, some of them are good, but most of them have no idea exactly what the dynamic is that they're working in.
Yeah, of course. It's not something you're born into. It's not a skill. I mean, some people do, but I think you have to understand an audience and understand your place in front of that audience and how to take command in a way.
That is exactly it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
And not everyone can do that. Not everyone has the self-possession to say, you should be listening to me, and not in a selfless way, but that just takes a certain amount of self-possession.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I've actually worked with guys as they are learning how to do this thing, and trying to really point out, and I've even said this in sermons about, you're the only one that has lights on you. You're the one in the big costume. You're the one with the mic. What are you going to walk away from that, or step away from it, or pretend it's not there?
Right.
Because often people pretend like, oh no, we're all the same.
Right.
Well, then why are you in that outfit?
Right.
Why did you study for 10 years? Why?
Right.
Well, you need to own it. Move
Right,
forward.
exactly.
It's like that with It's like that with actors too.
Sure. And it's like if you go to a doctor's office, you don't expect the doctor to act like the doctor is you. Like, the doctor's the doctor. I want the doctor to act like a doctor and tell me doctorly things and act as though they know what they're doing, you know? They don't have to step down to my level. They're the doctor. That's okay.
Correct. And they don't, and hopefully they won't treat you badly, but that's not what you're asking them to do.
Right, of course
You're
not.
not asking them to step all over you.
No.
So, yeah, there's
Be the authority, that's all, and be open.
Yeah.
And so in that case, being the priest, you're just saying, there was something that I said, I had written, I think one of Keefe things that he wrote, where it was like, it's okay to be a leader if you understand that it's just your turn to lead and not your right to be a leader. You know, that like we all have our moment when we step forward and say, okay, I got this, I'm an expert in this or whatever, I'll guide the ship through this little canal, but then I'm not the captain of the world. Like, I don't know everything. Like, I'll step back, right? Like,
yeah.
And having the grace to do that. And then in your appropriate position, you know, as a priest, like, that's your job. That's your job every Sunday or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think that's right on. And to accept that in this generation or at this moment, this is how you can be part of it or contribute to it or whatever you want to frame it.
That's right.
That it's your turn. That's exactly right.
That's right. And I think everybody, in whatever capacity they're living their lives right now, I mean, some people are more fortunate than others, and I think those people are the ones who really need to step up and take advantage of whatever fortune they have to help in a more maybe forward way. But, you know, everybody has a gift, several sometimes, and it's like, okay, figure out what that is if you haven't already, and that's okay. None of us is going to fix this all themselves.
No.
You know what I mean? There's no way.
Everybody's got a piece of that.
Right.
And, you know, I grew up with a father who, you know, he had 7 kids. He had a daughter and then 6 boys. Yeah. And we're all large and talented. And talented.
Sure. Okay, you know.
But those are the facts.
I haven't seen the rest of the family. Maybe they're...
some of them carry, you know, the rest of us.
It's on the bell curve. We're all pretty talented.
But my father was never able to actually just, you know, live into being like paterfamilias or the dad or the father. You know? He was always kind of begrudging and, you know, getting the anger or the responsibility, like the dour responsibility. But like, are you enjoying this role? Are you actually, you know?
I think there's a lot of that in dads. I mean, that's just the way that it's sort of structured. And some dads are lucky enough, some people who become fathers are lucky enough to walk into that role with a sense of themselves and some understanding of what is going to be happening, or they're just lucky when they get into it to go like, oh, this is what this is and I can figure it out. But when people step into it and they don't know themselves well enough and they feel subscribed to the particular role, and the same thing with wives too. I mean, especially less so as we go forward, but in the past, that's why so many women, I think of my mother's age and probably of your mother's age, I think suffer mental issues as they get older, right? Or even as they were raising their children, because it's like, this is what you do. My mother moved from Ottawa, which is where she was born and raised, so Quebecois, French-Canadian, picked up, moved to a small town in the middle of Ontario where no one spoke French. My dad, he was a great man, he is a great man, but he worked away from home a lot, so he would leave to go work, and she was there with the two of us in this small town in Ontario with no friends.
Yeah.
What did she give up? I mean, you know, I can't answer those questions for her, but I understand, like, the difficulty of that, you know, and how much that is to ask of somebody, like, you know, and this is what you do. And she was an outspoken woman, and not everybody appreciated it. And that's where I get it, you know. She spoke her mind, and not everybody was super cool with it.
Yeah. Have you always been, as you describe yourself, loudmouthed and getting into trouble, or just
not getting into trouble?
Opinionated, or
no, not getting into trouble. I think that's sort of a late stage for me. I was growing up. I was a good. I know, right?
When did that start? Are you in the middle of that, or at the end of it? Or?
I don't know. Who knows, right? Tell me. But I can say it started. Well, I can tell you when it started. I think I've always, and you know me well enough to know, when we were doing a show together back in '92, I have a bit of a bad boy streak. It's not that exactly, like puckish, I think. I like to, like, my humor is based in sort of like pricking at things a little bit, right? Like, you know what I mean? And so that's always been a part of who I am, but I've always been a good boy. You know, growing up, I always did the right thing. and never got in trouble when I was in school, except one time when I brought in a dirty book and the principal caught somebody else with it. But that was it.
What book was it?
Oh God, I don't remember.
Was it Thornbirds? Luke?
No, it was worse than that. It was like Jackie Collins, but like Harold Robbins kind of stuff. But it wasn't either one of those. I think it was called The Oscar. It was some story about like you know what I mean, stars trying to get the Oscar, and there were some really dirty parts in it. But also a story, right? So you could hang that on there and sell it in the grocery store. And so I brought that book to school, and I would read to people so I guess this has been in me for a long time. I would read to people at recess from that book. Nasty things, right? And I would just read to them. They weren't like, I don't know why it was fun. Like they weren't doing anything illicit. They were just hearing me read dirty stories and laughing.
Well, that kind of set your career path, didn't it?
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I guess in that way I have, but I never got in trouble. And so only recently, after I went through a period of depression where I was like suicidally depressed for 3-4 years.
When was that?
Starting at 90, oh God, I'd have to look back. It was like 4 or 5 years ago I came out of it, so about 7 years ago maybe. And we can talk about that at another time. But coming out of that, when I came out of it with this feeling, and I was 46, 47. And I thought, I'm going to be, as I was getting better, I'm going to be as eccentric as I want to be. Because I just beat death, and I don't care. And I've always been like a fan of John Waters and, you know, that kind of aesthetic, but never like owned it, or I didn't feel like I owned it. And as I'm getting older, I see the power of that aesthetic. And I'm like, so being the bad boy and being the rebel at this point, especially right now, seems like totally the right thing to do, you know, and a fun thing for me to do, for my role to be like the jester or the, you know what I mean, who walks around and sings songs and is like sort of, sometimes I've been not nice about it, and I'm trying to be nicer, though not always, but I'm trying to be nicer and just be more playfully like a shit stirrer, or like just the fly in the ointment who's just a little bit like, you know, like what is he up to? Well, I don't even know sometimes, but I know I'm trying to just like shake the frame and just be like, oh.
When did you do your first dances out? The dances you did for
the first one in public was just over a year ago. I think it was like, I just was cataloging them. I think it was October of 2019. So before COVID started. And I just did it because a friend of mine did it on Facebook with her son, and I was like, okay, here. And as I'm cataloging them, I had done 3, I think. Like October, and then a couple other after that, and then COVID happened. And the first one I did after COVID wasn't even a dance. It was Work From Home, the Fifth Harmony song. And I just sang it. And it was just like a little snatch, just looking into the camera out in front of Google, just thinking like, we can work from home. And you could see in my expression, looking back at it now, I felt it. I could feel those feelings of like, oh my God, what's happening? Where are we going to go? What's happening to us? And then shortly after, the next day, I think I did Road to Nowhere by the Talking Heads song, which I had just recently figured out. I didn't know it. Listening to it all the time, I was like, I don't know what that song's about. I like it, or whatever. And then it occurred to me, oh, he's talking about death, at least the way I understand it. This journey of life, right? It's a road to nowhere. So come on, join me, and let's live it, right? And so after then became COVID, it was like, well, we're on a road to nowhere because none of us know where this is going. But let's jump on it, right? Let's not opt out of being here because, you know, which I felt like in the beginning, it was so overwhelming. The desire to sort of opt out of being here was really strong, even in me.
And this is kind of it turned out that maybe you didn't intend it to, but it seems it's turned out to be, you know, all these dances you're doing on Instagram, and like several off on a day, all places, and you did all these in Mexico when you were there, and we'll talk about that. But is that, you know, these huge art projects that span, you know, months or years, does it feel like you're now involved in one of those?
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Absolutely. It actually, and I could say this, so I think we and I have talked about this in our last discussion. I had started before all this, I don't want to take myself too seriously, but I was doing this, walking around Amazon singing out loud before COVID, before the dances. And I even
with your headset on?
Okay,
with my
headset
so
on.
not completely crazy, just near that.
Right. but enough. Like I would usually have one of the buds out so I could hear what was around me, but I wasn't afraid of being perceived as crazy at that point, because I was like, you're on your phone. I wouldn't look at people generally. I would just walk by doing my business, singing at the level I felt like I wanted to. Right? Yeah. And I was like, I remember being out in front of Whole Foods. This is before COVID, right? Packs of people are all around me, and I'm singing like God knows what. You know, like freedom, freedom, George Michael, whatever. Standing people right around me as if they're not there. Because that became my strategy with them, and became my strategy later with people who weren't wearing masks. I got to the point where I was, I'm going to ignore you. I'm going to get my body and just ignore you. Like, I'll move out of your way. I'm not going to be rude, but I'm also not going to give you any light. Right? Like, I'm doing my thing. You all, I don't know what this is all about, what you've done to my city. So then, at that point, I was like, I'm doing this. I'm not telling anybody that this is an art performance project. I don't think it is. Maybe it is. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But in my mind, I was like, it's this super long, totally underground art project that if anybody is, I was like, God, it's been a year. I was singing probably for a year. They must have noticed me by now. They must talk about me, right? I don't know. Right? Because it was fun. And then it became dancing.
How do you check that you become one of the neighborhood crazies?
You can't.
Who do you ask?
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. I'm still like, I'm more confident now that I'm one of the neighborhood. This neighborhood, every neighborhood I get into now with the dancing, I'm pretty, like I'm dancing almost all the time, really. In one way or another, especially now. Really easily sometimes, just secretly. It's what helps me get around in the world right now, because it's just hard to be out.
Tell me about that.
Yeah.
Like, what does it do for you?
Well, you know how music is transportive, right? It can change. For me, I'm very sensitive to music, I find. And this may be part of my recovery from meth, that my sensitivities and a lot of things are upped because I'm still sort of recalibrating my body. But I'm especially sensitive to songs. And then COVID hit, and like every song, I think we were talking about this last time, every song is like, means something. I can find some meaning, not everyone, but like, but then my mood will change depending on that song. Like if it's Take Me to Church, like, and I'm like, take me to church, and I'm like, oh, I need to step back a little bit. Like, let's put on Love Shack. Like, hey, you know, like, mm-hmm. but if Take Me to Church is playing, I can be like, you know, just wailing. Sometimes I'm singing out loud in the grocery store, as if no one's around me. If I feel it especially. And now, like, I'm more pointed about what I'm singing. Sometimes I'm trying to be more joyful, but I don't always feel that way.
Yeah. Has anyone come up to you and told you to stop or
no.
thank you for doing it?
No. There's a video. No one has told me to stop. But just the other day, like last week, I think, I was doing Being Alive from Company. I did the whole song because I heard
by
it.
Request? By request
No,
or?
no.
Okay, just checking.
It just came on YouTube. I think I was listening to just Company. I don't know how. It kept coming back up in my life. I had done The Ladies Who Lunch, and not like I was a big fan of Company, but listening to the music, I heard Being Alive, and I was like, oh, that's it. Like, that's so great. And they're all like trying to like, come on, Bobby, you can do it. You can do it. And he's trying to like become full and whole, you know, which feels like this process we're going through right now, a lot of people. And so it seems beautiful to me, right? And I could identify with all the people who are standing around him like, you almost got it, Bobby. You got to want something. You want something. And I was like, yeah, that's it. That's what we need to do. Just like be passionate, be alive. So I do the whole song, right? Beautiful spot. Before I start it, this guy, he's been like in his car for a while. He comes out and he drives up next to me right before I'm about to start. Older guy, older than me. I'm 50. He's like, you know, whatever. Much older, but probably not that much older. He's like, in my mind, he's like, can I help you? Not she done with Southern accent. Could I help you? I was like, no. He's like, huh? And he drove away. And then I started doing it like instantly.
You didn't say, well, if you know Being Alive.
Right, sure, right. But he was asking me, he wasn't asking me like, I've had people come up and say, are you okay? Because I'm on the ground like doing something and they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just dancing. But in this case, he was saying, can I help you? Like, you're in my neighborhood, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I'm white, I'm doing whatever I want, I'm not hurting you, no thank you, right? I said just like, no. And he was like, "Hoo, boo, 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 boo," and he drove away. Ta-da!
Interesting.
And I just did it, and I started instantly. And I knew he was behind me, and that gave me even more energy to be dropped into it and be like, I'm going to do the hardest, most dropped-in show. You didn't touch me. You know what I mean? You didn't touch my energy. Sorry, you're having a bad day. I'm not hurting you. I got a mask on. I'm in the middle of the street, but I'm watching. You're good.
Right.
You can go to work or whatever it is you need to do. You know?
Yeah.
And so I will, but I don't get many people. That's the only time anybody has ever been like that. I've had people, as I said, like one time I did, I don't want to be alone, where's my man, Eartha Kitt. And I ended it on the ground, like, rah, 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 just like rolling on the ground, right? And somebody comes out of their car and they're like, are you okay, man? And I'm like, oh, yeah, sorry, I'm okay. And another time.
People would do that with Eartha all the time.
I'm sure, poor thing. She's, I'm fine. Are you fine, Miss Kit? I don't know. She's fine enough,
I don't know whether to clap or throw a chew toy. I don't know where we are. Where are we?
Where are we? Why is Eartha Kitt still alive? So this is actually. There were a couple powerful moments. I mean, if we're going to talk about my dance stuff now, we seem we're on that.
Sure.
One time I did S.O.B., Son of a Bitch, which is by
You don't have
the
to explain
Night Sweats.
cursing to me. I'm not that far gone.
What's that?
You don't have to explain.
It could have been the movie. It could have been
I've been out.
with Julie Andrews.
I've been out of the world for a while. But,
S.O.B. means son of a bitch, Father.
What?
It's not bitch in the pejorative sense, though. Just, you know what I mean,
right.
generally. But the song, I don't know if you know the song, but the song is somebody in the Night Sweats. I can't remember his name. God, horrible. Not Nathaniel Hawthorne, something like that. He's singing a song about, like, son of a bitch, give me a drink. And it's a whole song about his, or at least his characters, trying to recover from being an alcoholic. And it's pretty intense, but it's in this old, like, this old, like, kind of gospel, like, whatever, railroad song kind of style. Great. I do the whole thing, and this is when I'm just started. No one knows yet that I'm a meth addict, but I'm on my first week out of it. So I'm doing that song, and I'm going for it full tilt. And I'm out in the street, and I see this family come up, these two women with a baby, and I think, oh boy. And it's the part of the song where he's like going to town, and I'm going to go down on the ground. And I say, go for it. So I went for it. And then I did the song. And then I have a recording of me going around the corner and going like, hi to these neighbors. Like, I'm okay. And they're like, oh, did I scare you? And they're like, no. We just saw you were dancing. We thought it was okay. I was like, oh, thank God. Because I really, in my mind, I was like, oh shit, this is the song where he breaks down now. Are you going to go for it, Hannah, or are you going to back off? I was like, go for it. So I'm like, down on the ground. And I'm like, okay, just go. Tell them you're okay. That's all right. It's art. It's okay. They understand. Or they don't. Like, whatever. I don't know. I didn't hurt them. I didn't punch their baby. I just danced in front of them.
How many of these little videos have you done at this point?
Oh, God. I started cataloging them. There's probably over 400.
Yeah. And you're doing multiple a day now.
Sometimes.
Right?
Yeah. It depends. It depends. Like, it really... I've tried not to do them. I've said, like, I need to stop. And I try to be better about not doing them. But in a way, they help me. I don't know that I'm getting to anybody. At this point, it does and it doesn't matter to me. I do it if I want to do it, if it seems fun. And then I know also doing it in the neighborhood now that I've established myself and people are watching me, I do it to be kind of, I don't know what it is, like the fairy magic man in the neighborhood who's just doing, you know what I mean, who's cool. And it helps me, like, I have to walk around now because I know people are watching me. It helps me, like, try to pretend like I'm cool, which I'm not. But I walk around as though I am, and eventually that sticks, right? Yeah. And to walk around the world and be calm right now is an enormous amount of power of some kind. Because everyone's like, they look at you like you're crazy if you're acting like you're calm and normal.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's my experience in Seattle. I don't know what it is there where you are.
Well, hold up. that is so interesting as far as like how a person within a community, I mean, that's the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
The neighborhood is that when when you've talked about John Waters and that sort of thing,
Yeah.
I can't speak for him or his work, but transgressive pieces within
Yeah.
a culture, and somewhat, I mean, the vows that I have do the same sort of thing. Is that when people are acting outside of the expectations or the norm,
Yeah.
then it creates more space for everybody.
Yes, I think that's right. That's right.
Because you're doing that, and the people, not because everyone's going to do dances on
Right.
the Instagram, but suddenly there's more space for everybody.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I have this theory about, well, let's see if it's applicable here, but about how comedy, or I think performance, but I was specifically talking about comedy, and how comedy is such a great conduit for change. And people who are on the edge of comedy, pushing on jokes that are like, is this funny? Help.
How about this? How about
Right,
this?
but in a smart way, right? Not just like swinging an axe around, but like
That can be
noticing-
funny. Hey,
yeah,
that
sure.
can be
I mean,
funny.
Gallagher, all of that. It's a thing, you know what I mean? Like, okay, that happened. You can do it. But like,
You can do it.
absolutely, and he can keep doing it. He's probably still alive. Hi, Gallagher, if you're listening.
If you're listening.
He's a mean man, I think.
I think so too.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard. Anyway, but people who are on the edge of comedy, like Lenny Bruce or whatever, these people who are like, whatever, Lenny Bruce, whatever, pushing on the edges of things, help push culture forward. Because they take the risk to say, fire in a crowded theater, not exactly. Oh, nothing happened.
Yeah.
Oh, nothing happened. Okay. Hey, guys, come on. Let's move a little bit forward on this path. And the people who are smart comedians, who are sensitive, and there's artists of any kind, really. But I think comedy is universally an easy way to push this through, because everyone goes like, ha, ha, ha. Are pushing us along that path, part of the force that is pushing us along that path towards realizing who we are and saying,
And who we can be.
and who we can be. That's right. Because we accept now, two men can get married. Not everybody, but mostly everyone accepts that as kind of like a thing. But that wasn't true. I never thought in my lifetime we'd say that. And I think partly comedians helped push on the edges of that. Like, even something as horrible as I didn't see it. I don't know if it's horrible, but that movie with Kevin Joyce. No, not Kevin Joyce. You know Kevin Joyce.
Kevin Joyce.
Kevin James. Hi, Kevin Joyce. I hope you're listening.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin. What are you doing? Kevin James and what's his name? Now We're Married. Now I pronounce you Bill and Ted or whatever it was. About the two firefighters that get married.
Yes.
Right. So that's like probably was not a great movie, but it like a certain group of people saw that, and I think both of those guys are probably all right, and they probably like pushed the message that much forward, right, to the place where a certain person could see that movie and maybe she changed slightly. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I
normalized a little
completely
bit.
agree. I completely agree because I'm in the sort of or next to the world of academics, right? And
Right.
within academics,
As you've
there's
said.
Yes, maybe I brought this up.
Scholastic people.
The hallowed halls. Is that there's often like lip service or paid to the notion of like the ongoing conversation, whatever it is. It could be politics, could be gender,
Sure.
it could be
Yeah.
whatever. And in part, sometimes that is just like just they're just making it up, or
Yeah.
they want to be part of. They want this, but
Right,
I
right.
think it really exists.
Of
There
course,
is a
absolutely it
national
does.
conversation.
Yes.
There are, and those conversations change and
Yes,
they shift.
absolutely
And they
they
move
do.
forward or they move back.
And they're
over
not
the past
written
4
down.
years, no, the last 4 years, people have had a conversation that the conversation has gotten a lot meaner.
Absolutely.
In
In some ways. Yeah.
In some ways, but not always.
Not in
Yeah.
all ways. And in some conversations have gotten more intimate. I think we're still, there's still a racial problem in America.
Really?
Yeah,
Or you
I'm
think
sorry
maybe
to
just a
bust-
little bit? Yeah, I know that you're in Wallingford, but I'm in the Bronx, buddy.
That's right. You guys got it figured out. But here in Wallingford, but
Yeah, it's
there's
fierce.
still these racial issues. But there's a conversation happening that's very contentious still, and isn't happening out in the open. I don't know where it's happening because we can't all meet, but it's happening online. It's happening all these different places about how do we, white people who are like thought they were cool, and people of color, well, okay, well, I have to forgive myself for what I did, because what can I do? And you have to, at some point, trust me and forgive me. And so that conversation is happening, right? And I understand, and not every white person understands this. It's like, well, you can't just walk up to people of color, as a general thing, whatever, in their relationship and say, all right, let's move forward. Because the reality is, they've seen that before. And so there's a certain amount of trust that needs to be gained, and people are going to be tested, and they have to accept that in the different ways that it comes. You know, whether they're aware of it or not. I mean, like, if someone's like pushing on you, like, you got to take it a bit as a white person.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, you know what? They don't know you. You may think you're cool. They don't know you. You're going to have to prove yourself, because a whole bunch of people have been fucked a whole bunch of times before by a lot of promises that never got, you know, paid in on. And I don't know, and I think we're capable of it. I don't know what it looks like. You know what I mean?
Well,
what does it look like when
there's,
we get
you know,
there? What does it look like?
I've been reading a ton on this topic and being part of like conferences, attending,
Yeah.
but then also within my province on the West Coast, we're doing a set of conversations around racial equity and inclusion. And then being on a university campus, there's all kinds of training that goes on. Sometimes it's required, sometimes it's, you know, aspirational, around these huge issues. And sometimes it's just virtue signaling, as in, yeah, we're doing it. But often it's really some really super interesting conversations
Yeah.
about what's possible, and these really
Yeah.
unwieldy, awkward first steps or the next steps sort of conversations.
Right.
And I'm finishing like the 4th book in a row on this topic, of like brand new books around like the woman who started Black Lives Matter, and then Isabel Wilkerson's Cast, and now I'm reading Imre Candy's How to Be an
Oh,
Anti-Racist.
I just want to stop you now for a second. You're breaking up a bit. Your audio is, so I'm starting to lose you.
You know what? I think maybe because you're losing attention. I don't think
Wow.
it's the breakup.
You were talking for
I
a
think-
long time, but that's not my problem. I wasn't upset about that. I was listening. I was actively listening, but I wasn't
I
mm-hmm-ing.
really,
And when's he going to be done? His lips are stopping
First of all,
moving now. Let me say my point.
I think you've set active listening cues, and you just push a button. You don't even bother to say them anymore. They're recorded. So,
I
so
see.
anyway, with the whole anti-racist stuff,
Yeah.
that it's been great to be part of that for me. But can we move the topic just a little bit?
Yeah.
Do you mind? Do we want? We didn't actually talk about topics. We just started talking.
No.
But before we wade further into racism in the United States,
We only have like 20 minutes, so sure.
let's
wrap it up.
Come on. Okay. Do you want to take on the conversation of like, hey, Stephen,
Yeah.
do you want to talk about how you got into crystal meth? How do you want to?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we can get into that. I think we have time for that, and it'll just be what it is, and then it ends where it ends.
We have plenty of time. I mean,
Yeah, that's
we
right.
have this call. We have this call till 3:30, so it's no big deal.
Oh my God.
3:30 my time. So
Still
what I'm
though.
saying is we don't have to do all of it.
What time is it now? Yeah, so let's
We have
talk
another
about
45 minutes.
that. Yeah, it's complicated, right? But
Do you want to do it now or the next or tomorrow?
let's do it another day, because it would take me talking about how I got into depression.
Sure.
And because a lot of people assumed I got into my depression. A lot of people who know me, assumed I got into this depression, where I was suicidal and really died on the inside. I think a lot of people assumed it was drugs, but it really wasn't. But then I have to sort of talk about that to talk about how the drugs then came into play. So I think let's talk about that another time, because that's sort of way
great.
off topic.
Good. Let's continue about your art and doing
Yeah.
it in a public space.
Off of racial injustice. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll step away from topics that we're not expert on and get back to stuff that we know something about.
No, I agree. But I mean, I will say, I do think we are not experts in these subjects, but I think it's hard to say when we're building the table to say I should have a voice at the table, like you do.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think what we have to say about these things is also not to be discounted, right? But you're right. To give it the appropriate amount of attention is right.
Yeah, right. So these videos that you've been doing,
Yeah.
and you kind of backed your way into a larger project.
I guess.
That's international.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what do you have an end time,
No.
or you're going to do this till you do something else?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
I mean, I kept thinking, In so much as I think of it as a project, like that's something I play around with in my head from the beginning. Like, does anybody care? Well, does it matter?
Does it? Yeah, does it matter?
Right? Does it matter? Well, do you care? Why are you doing it? You know, all these things. And right now, I'm doing shorter pieces, and they're a little more directly pointed. I'm becoming, like, I've always sort of been hiding things in the songs. Like messages that I didn't think people were maybe ready to hear, but some people were, as far as being ready for revolution, thinking about violence a little bit, you know, taking on some of these characters, like the MIA song, not Paper Airplane, oh God, the one she's just like, all I want to do is take your money. I did that out in front of like Amazon campus with my shirt open, you know, my glasses on and my mask on, as though I were some kind of bandito, you know, being like, I'm the gangsta who's here to like, but I'm really representing Amazon. What am I doing? Who do I mean?
How tall are you?
What? I'm 5'4".
How tall? Yeah, you're 5'4". How much do you weigh?
Oh my God, what? I'm 125 pounds.
Okay, just have a visual of this bandito. That
he's a little one.
Going to die. That's the Ito part. That's why. Yeah.
That's right. I'm not a bandit. I'm a bandito. Like a personita. Like when I was in Mexico. Did I tell you this? Where the neighbors were like to my Spanish friend, does that personita have COVID? I was a personita in Mexico. That's nice.
Great. Well, better to be a personita than no nita at all. I guess. Isn't that what they say?
I don't know who, but they should. So I don't feel like I'm like this project. Like honestly, because we're all so isolated, and because I'm isolated for a lot of reasons, it's easy to go into, and I am actively engaging in fantasy life, right? I understand that there's power in that fantasy life. And so I'm kind of playing on the edge of like what's real and what's not real, right? When I'm flying to Mexico, there's a part of me that thinks, and I'm also coming off of meth at this time, a little more aggressively sort of in the early stages of it, so it's easier, you're sort of realizing what's real and not real. But I'm thinking, because it makes sense. I was like, there is a group of artists, like Jay-Z and Beyonce are gonna be there in Mexico City. And they've been sending these messages out, just knowing that something like this was gonna happen. And there's gonna be a band of artists who are there to like, whatever, deliver all these messages. Like they've been coding all this shit, which is true. There is all this coding in music, that's there for real. There is not, as far as I know, a revolutionary band of artists out there led by Jay-Z and Beyonce who are waiting for me in Mexico City. They didn't tell me if they were there. I thought they'd be at the airport.
There are 2 airports. Did you go to the wrong?
See, maybe that was the problem. Benito Juarez, damn it, no. I didn't say Benito Juarez. Beyonce, Jay-Z, hi Jesus, Eduardo, whatever your name is. Beyonce, and just tell me now, are you rich, first of all? And B, are Beyonce and Jay-Z here? No, then everything you told me was true. Well, shit, I thought this was a whole big thing and you're getting me here and, well, it's all right. So, I mean, and now I'm just kind of like, I don't know if anybody pays attention. I'm getting some traction on Instagram, but it's really inconsistent. So the idea that I'm actually doing anything is like, I'm like, I'm not a star. If I get 15 likes, I'm like, oh, right, I did it. Like, that's ridiculous, right? Yeah. So what am I doing? Well, in the face of, I've always wanted to be the underdog. I've always wanted to be the William H. Macy who's like, you know who's a really good actor before he did anything?
Yeah.
And I am now. That's what I am. And I'm like, well, shit, now I want to be the next thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What is that?
Does that make sense? Yeah,
it does. It does, very much. And I appreciate that. It's like all of us, our art has this big context to wherever the hell we are in our lives. It doesn't just happen in some sort of plotted. Well, maybe there's a few years it does, but mostly it happens in response to, or because of, or in spite of. Yeah, for sure. Else.
I mean, you could force it to happen, and then that's when you end up in a place where you're like, what am I doing? Like, you know, who is this? You know, where's my house? This isn't my car. This isn't my wife. You know, where you've like, that's what that's about, I think, to some degree. You're just like, oh, you live this life, you made it happen, and you're like, what is this? So when you let yourself really go to the universe and say like, well, I'm on this raft, on this river, I'm going to get my paddle out, and we're going to see where we go.
Yeah. Tell me, you're in front of Amazon doing that dance, but that's just one example.
Yeah.
Tell me, but what's your experience of how, I know some of this is the point of anger for you, but how is number one, how has Seattle changed, and why do you care?
Seattle has changed. I can't afford to live in Seattle. Now, I live in Seattle at the moment, but I live in a house with 4 other men, 2 of them my age, and one the 23-year-old Lutheran, I think, young student, in this house in Wallingford. None of us could afford to live here. They took over an area of the city. That's fine. That's actually, I don't have such a problem with them setting up there. But it's just the way that everything has... Yeah, I don't have a problem with them being here. They're here, when they try to control public, Amazon... Amazon and Amazon employees, and who became like a big force financially in the city. And they tried to control local politics. And my thought is, well, if you want to come to Seattle and work for Amazon and you're going to stay here and love it and invest in the city, then great. If you're on the track to be like, I'm going to get my Amazon nut and then move back home or wherever it is, then stay out of the politics. Right?
Yeah. Don't
try to get the taxes, because all you're going to do is try to get something that's going to favor you within the next 1 to 5 years. Yeah, and that's not necessarily what's best for the city. And you can't afford to live here. The rents are crazy. Everything's too expensive. All the old places, and not to be just like, no, things were better in the old days, but all these expensive places, very little has been saved. And so you go to Mexico City and there's just like ruins crumbling, but everything is like, you feel the weight of the history there and the people living their lives there, And so here, and then COVID came and kind of like fucked it all and made it interesting again, because there's spray paint everywhere suddenly. When that first started happening, I was like, yes, let them know you're here. Let them know you're here. And they did, and they sure did.
That is really interesting, the spray paint on brand new buildings.
Yes.
And because I was down in the village, I've been down in the village, occasionally, not very much at the moment, because you have to take a train down, and it's kind of hazardous. And I love older guys. But so much spray paint on places you never saw, or you haven't seen it recently. Yeah. And in part, you're just like, well, that's a drag. And then you think, okay, what's actually going on here? What's happening with graffiti?
That's right. Yeah. It's more than just an annoyance, right? Like, if you look at, like, some of it's just crap. But also you think, like, well, why is that? That comes out of a place of a person feeling like they have no voice, a person feeling they don't have ownership of that neighborhood. So why not?
Yeah.
This neighborhood doesn't respect me, so I don't respect it. Because if they did respect the neighborhood, if they own that neighborhood, if they had people in that neighborhood calling them out and saying like, hey, John, don't do, what are you doing? Your mother, she's going to see you. What are you doing? That doesn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're like, this, and so, and then you feel hopeless, you feel lost, you feel like you don't have a voice, and you feel like the world is ending. Let me make my mark. I'm pants, or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm Sizzle Face. And you can see mine because it's got the S and the Z, and then there's a little face on the side, a devil little face. That's me, Sizzle Face. And I'm everywhere. That's what it is.
Are you telling our listeners that you are Sizzle Face?
Obviously, I'm not Sizzle Face. I wouldn't stand here and represent as though I was Sizzle Face. Sizzle Face is an idea. I am, yes, as much as I'm Spartacus, I am Sizzle Face.
Got it. Noted.
Thank you. Anyone else? Who is Sizzle Face? Stand up. I am Sizzle Face.
I am Sizzle Face.
Well, I'm Sizzle Face too.
I'm Sizzle Face.
Where'd that rabbit come from? It talks. Wait a second. Oh, anyway.
Accents I can do. Rabbit.
Well, I mean, it depends on the type of rabbit. Like, maybe it was like, I'm Sizzle Face. Like that. Maybe that's a rabbit. That seemed like a rabbit, right?
That seemed like a rabbit.
Welcome to another fabulous movie.
I'm Sizzle Face.
I'm Sizzle Face. Oh, Moneybags, you can't be Sizzle Face. Get out of here with your money.
I'm Sizzle Face.
I'm Sizzle Face. It's the Monopoly Man. You're not Simple Face Monopoly Man. Get him! Get him!
Get the shoe! Get the shoe! Get the shoe!
The thimble. Why did you take the thimble? That's horrible. No one wants that thimble. Where's that dog?
Oh, everyone wants a dog. Our dog went
course.
missing finally because everyone's fighting over the dog.
Right.
It's
You just
probably
get rid of
taken to
it.
someone's room.
Just get rid of it. It's just like, it just causes problems because everybody wants the dog. So just have just a bunch of shitty things that nobody really wants, and then everyone's happy.
Shut up! You have the shoe. Oh, fuck.
All God's children need shoes. Next. Wow, I guess.
The worst possible Monopoly piece.
Oh, God. No, thimble is worse. I'm sorry.
So you feel like you're being treated like the shoe in the Monopoly game that is Seattle at the moment. Amazon taking all the money.
Yes. I mean, I guess so, yes. I mean, if we're going to be really honest about it, yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear. The city gave in, turned what could have been a park into the Amazon campus, whatever that happened, on the premise that all this money would come into the city, which it did. But none of it, almost none of it, went to anybody in the city.
Yeah, neoliberalism.
Right.
There.
So it's like, there's all this money in the city now. All these great fancy French restaurants I can't afford to eat in. Wouldn't anyway, but still couldn't. It's like, it's nice, those oysters, nice and fresh for $10 an oyster or whatever. Like, that's not what, I mean, what?
Yeah.
And you go to Mexico City, and this is having a dollar or whatever against the peso, but still, even comparably, you think like that's how much that should cost. And even from neighborhood to neighborhood, I would notice it different from one neighborhood to the next neighborhood on how much a thing costs. But at its base, I could get a sandwich and a drink and whatever, you know what I mean, for a reasonable price. And in one neighborhood, just like what anybody would have. And here, I go to get a burrito, and it's like $12. I'm like, $12 for a burrito, really?
Yeah. Here in New York, at a certain point, when I moved back, I just had to just get on with it in the sense of, because I moved from Boise to here.
Right.
And Boise's on its own track, by the way.
Yeah, good, I'm glad.
Well, sort of, but
Oh, I'm sorry, COVID track? What are we talking about?
No, its own gentrification track.
Oh,
is,
sure,
more and more
bad,
people find that sort of thing.
Right.
But just you have to get used to everything being so freaking expensive all the time. And you wonder, well, no wonder no one can live here, and everyone's on a train coming in to do the work that nobody wants to do.
Oh, you're breaking up again. I'm afraid. I'm trying to listen.
I think I'm just being quiet. Sorry.
Okay, good.
There's no technical problem. It's just me kind of
muttering.
Muttering. Yes, muttering. That's what I'm doing.
I'm Cecil.
Just mustache that gets in the way. Yeah, it's hard
That's Cecil
because
Face, the quiet one.
Yeah, I'm speaking through just gum. It's just gums. It's not actual gum. It's gums, no teeth, and then a mustache. So.
The skull has pretty much softened.
The skull is soft. The skull is soft, not just in the back.
No, all around. The muscles are still keeping it moving. You can do it. It's hard.
Slack jawed. That's the least of it. Yeah. Nice. So we're up at an hour. Do you want to wrap this? And
I think so. I mean, I think that
tomorrow?
we've gotten through some things.
Yeah, it's fine with me. And again, I just want to reiterate for both of us is that I'm totally enjoying catching up with you.
Yeah, me too.
And being with you.
Yeah.
And we happen to have mics on.
Yeah,
so.
That's great. Absolutely. And I think whatever. I mean, the structure is what the structure is, and I think we did a real good job today of staying on topic and talking about interesting things and also getting to know a little bit more about each other. And we'll get better and better every time.
And a certain amount of screwing around, which is important.
Yes! It was much more fun this time. The first one, I was just sitting there most of the time. I was listening, but I was so just like trying not to respond or laugh. And like it became a bit like, yes, I understand your question. My answer is as follows. Like so this is getting more fun.
That's interesting.
I appreciate it. That's a great question. Which is the worst in any interview.
I'm glad you asked that.
I'm glad you asked that question. Oh God, really?
It's the worst talk back after a show ever. Yeah.
I'm so glad you asked that question. Wait, why do they do talkbacks after shows? Can we talk about that next time? I hate them.
I love the idea, But as an actor, I hate it, and I've gone to them lots as actually an attendee, and I've hated them too.
Yes.
I mean, I remember once going after the Worcester group, and Willem Dafoe obviously had been dragged there by Kate Volk and the
I'm
other
sure.
people. He'd been dragged there, and he was such a baby about it.
Yeah.
And I totally get it.
Yeah,
'Cause
but
he was lying back on the stage, flat out.
well, here's the thing, though. I'm going to say this, and Willem Dafoe, if you're listening, I'm sorry. But, like, if you're there, like, be there. You know what I mean? Like, don't be a bitch about it. You know what I mean? You're Willem Dafoe. It's not that hard. Just sit up.
Well,
Well, I don't. He's a solid guy. Do you see the Florida Project? He's so good. The Florida Project. Holy
yes,
crap.
I just think he's just terrific.
He's
And did you see
terrific.
Vincent? Vincent?
No.
So good. He did a film about Vincent Van Gogh last year.
Does he play Vincent?
Yes, and it could not be better.
Really?
He is so miserable. And
Yeah. It's
a
interesting.
beautiful film too.
Vincent Van Gogh was one of the people, like Jesus would tell this story over and over again. Hi,
This is why
Jesus.
you came home.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh my God, I get it. He's like, well, oh my God, Jesus, hi. He said, like Van Gogh, everyone thinks that Van Gogh was this great revolutionary in the art thing, but actually he really was just like, he was a part of the movement. It was happening around him. It wasn't like he invented the movement. And he didn't sell any paintings, not because he was misunderstood, because he was just like a miserable person and a hard person to be around. And it's because of his brother that anything exists, you know? He just was like apparently just like a dick, or like was just hard to be around. So like people didn't want to talk to him. He was the scary, crazy guy in the neighborhood. Like, that's what he was explaining it, right? I don't know if that's how the movie portrays him. But the sense of like, he didn't sell any paintings because he was kind of a weird person.
Yeah, that comes across. And his brother, who maybe Oscar Isaac plays his brother, someone lovely, and is really, Theo comes across really very well. And it's just the misery.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, friend. So I will send you an invite for tomorrow.
Sounds
I now
good.
have an appointment at 10 my time, so I mean that's fine.
Yeah.
I will do that, and then we'll reconvene this in the
Yeah.
afternoon my time.
Perfect.
Okay.
And I have my interview today, so wish me luck on that. I should know by tomorrow.
What's the job?
It's the same job I had before, working for Seattle Cancer Care Alliance in their reception, in their intake department, sort of the main number. I worked there for 4 years. I loved it. We can talk more about that. But I contacted them, and actually the person that I worked with contacted me and said, hey, there's some positions opening up in that area. And so one is a temporary position, because I was like, I could commit to a year, but I really don't know what this year is going to be. But this is temporary, doing the same thing. I feel like I'm going to get it, and that will be nice because it'll have insurance. And I need a regular schedule,
right.
honestly, because having all this free time, I need structure.
Yeah.
So that my mind can bounce off of it,
totally
right? Because with anything, I could
totally
do
get it.
anything all day. Oh my God, I should do everything. It's like, well, no.
Oh my God, that is exactly
Yeah.
it. You know, a friend of mine, maybe of ours, he passed away and was part of that, Jim Chestnut.
Oh yeah. I
his
knew
care
Jim,
was
but
being
only
provided.
tangentially.
Yeah. And so I know that came up a lot. And
I know, and I know that he was
received good care.
Yeah, right. And not to speak too much to that condition, but yeah.
Good.
I
All
was
right,
proud of the
friend.
place. Yeah.
Yeah, and we will be in touch. I'll send you this invite.
Fantastic. Anytime
All
is
right.
fine tomorrow, as far as I know.
Great. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.